So, um, so I wanted to talk about a question I received from a viewer, um, yeah, recently about, um, really the fundamentals of quantum mechanics, and I'm not an expert in this. I don't know much. As a student, I don't really know much about quantum mechanics, but really the basic consensus of it is really not technical, and it's a really interesting philosophical question that really anyone can really have a deep think about. So, yeah, I thought it'd be a worthy topic to really do a video on. Uh, so basically, the basic idea of quantum mechanics is one of the most important things is superposition. Basically, says uh, a subatomic object cannot the position of it cannot be precisely determined, and it's in never mind. So the position of and the momentum of a subatomic particle cannot both be precisely determined, and so they can be in a superposition state of all these different possibilities of where it can be, how can it be moving, and once you observe it, it really chooses one of those possible states on its own. So really, the question that I was asked is, well, in our daily lives, we there are things in the world, in the macroscopic world that that we live in. There are things, there are still things that we cannot predict. That's either in the present or the past. But we know that those things actually happen, and there was only one outcome. So really stretching that argument into um, the quantum world, is it really justifiable to say, okay, since we don't have this information about this particle, is it okay to say it's in a superposition state of really all these different possibilities? But I think it's a reasonable question, and it's one I've been um, kind of the doubt I had when I first really learned about quantum physics as well. And I think really the difference between the subatomic world and the macroscopic world, really the difference is whether the act of knowing is physically, like, is actually against the law of physics. When we say we don't know something in our daily lives, we mean that we could know this because it's we could technically know this because it's already happened, but because of practical limitations, we don't have sufficient information to really be sure about that. But in the subatomic world, it's actually against the laws of our universe to know. Even if we had like perfect technology, no. Well, so that's the difference. You can't still go in and argue that, oh, just because we don't know, even if it's physically forbidden to know, it doesn't mean it's not determined. It must be determined because everything else we see in the level of the universe that we can actually see with our naked eyes is also deterministic. Well, I think that also really is a reasonable argument to back up the original one. And I think it can be one of the possible theories that really we can push. But really, what does it really mean though, things being deterministic, if we can never ever by the laws of the universe know this information, and we can only know it once we observe it? What is it? Is it really meaningful to say, or even for the thing to be deterministic? Whether or not you call it deterministic, or whether it is deterministic, doesn't really affect. It doesn't really change the fact that, we have to observe it to know it. Well, in that case, even the statement that, that it's deterministic, we just don't know about it, is really valid. So they came to a conclusion that it makes more sense to say that things are in superposition states, because things only matter when we can interact with that information. Whether or not that information is true doesn't matter, because a piece of information is not a piece of information unless it affects us, unless we interact with the information, as long as we are concerned. I hope that answered your question, and see you next video.